Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. This is episode 146, and let's just get started with our tip-off tops with a review over the weekend. A couple of big Game 7s took place in the NBA over the weekend, and let's lead off by the 120-101 win by the Denver Nuggets to win the series in 7 games versus the Clippers. This is something that's not shocking, because if anybody listened to this podcast before the playoffs started, I said it was going 7, and I picked the Nuggets because it was on their home floor. So I'm not shocked by the result. I want to say I'm shocked by how much they won by. And folks, that 120-101 score, that's not indicative what this was. This was a 30-point game at one point, I do believe, in the third quarter. This was not a contest. This game was over in the third quarter. Like way over. So to me, when you looked at this contest, number one, the ghost of James Harden's coming back again. James Harden, only 8 points, 13 assists, I get it. But this James Harden elimination game thing keeps rearing its ugly head. I know in the elimination game, Game 6, he was really good, but he was terrible in a Game 7 once again. On the Denver side, it was really interesting because I really think this team finally started playing really good basketball, Games 5 and 7. And to me, a lot of it has to do with not Nikola Jokic, not Jamal Murray, because they're expected. It's been the play of Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. When those two are engaged and playing well, and I think they're combined for, 37 points, I want to say, they are a dynamic 3-4 punch. And it gives them, along with Christian Brown, at times, one of the best offensive starting 5 in the league. And then there's Brody, Russell Westbrook, who's gone over his points prop in the last 4 games. The Nuggets move on. We'll talk more about their series versus OKC coming up. But for the Clippers team, we have to wonder what happens next. I have a solution, and it may not be a popular one. I'd trade Kawhi. I don't know if this team with an aging James Harden is going to make a run. I know Zubac was fantastic, most improved player. Thank you, they got that right. But to me, I think this is more about the fact that I worry about Kawhi getting injured again. So to me, if I'm the Clippers, I'm Steve Ballmer. You already got an arena. I sell high, and I get rid of Kawhi this offseason. He could get you a boatload in return. Speaking of Game 7s in the Western Conference, the Warriors almost blew that 3-1 lead. But then came Game 7, a 103-89 win over the Golden State Warriors, covering as an underdog versus the hometown Houston Rockets. And what can you say? Steph Curry had 3 points at halftime? And they were winning by double digits? Yeah. Why? The Bahamian bad man. Bad Buddy. Buddy Hield, wait, folks, ready for this? 9 out of 11 from the 3-point line. He made more threes than the entire Houston Rockets team. So the Golden State Warriors head on to the semifinals versus Minnesota. We'll break that down a little bit as well. But about Houston, I think we have to start to look at, do the Rockets now push their chips to the center of the table and try to make a big swing? You got to bring back Fred VanVleet, right? Obvious. But Jalen Green scored in single digits in 6 out of the last 7 games of the series, except for Game 2. Jabari Smith was coming off the bench because Amen Thompson took his minutes. Could you consider taking Jalen Green and Jabari Smith in picks and moving them for front court help if you knew ready that you have Reed Shepherd and Cam Whitmore already there? So, think about it. If you're Houston, do you try to take those 2 and go get Kawhi if he's on the block? Do you take those 2 and see if Giannis becomes available? Or the one we all expect, do you go get Kevin Durant? But Kevin Durant's only got 1 year left in his deal. Interesting times here for a Houston Rockets team that could either do one or two things. They could take the OKC Thunder approach and be patient and let all these guys grow and take that next step? Or do you think some of these young guys push it to the center of the table and say, our window starts now, not in a couple of years? Let's head to Sunday's other game, a 121-112 win by the Indiana Pacers, covering as about a 7.5, 8.5 point underdog versus the Cleveland Cavs. Folks, it was funny. I was just talking to Matt about this before we came on air. I am not shocked. I'm sorry. I'm shocked they won the game. I thought they were going to cover the spread. I think you get concerned with these teams that play these matchups in the first round and they don't get challenged. This is what happens when the Miami Heat lose by 30 and then by 40 in game number 4. They weren't ready. But for an Indiana team, this is how well they're playing, right? They got all their clicking. They're rolling 8-9 deep. They get up and down the floor. Sets up an intriguing game, too, that we'll break down on our scouting report in a little bit. Let's switch gears. Talk about coaching news. Gregg Popovich, a great coach of the San Antonio Spurs, all-time wins leader, 1,422 and retired officially due to health concerns. And obviously his assistant, Mitch Johnson, takes over. But here I want people to understand what Pop did. 5-time NBA champion, 3-time coach of the year, named one of the 15 greatest coaches of NBA history. I think he's in the top 5. 29th season as Spurs head coach. 22 straight seasons over 500. 19 straight seasons of 50-plus wins. So this is the guy that took over from like the Robinson era to the Duncan era with Ginobili and obviously Tony Parker, to the Kawhi Leonard, to a little bit of a downturn, and now leading into the Wembanyama era. What a job by Gregg Popovich, and we should be thankful that we had someone like Pop as long as we did in the NBA. We're not going to have another one like him. But that allows a guy like Mitch Johnson, his loyal assistant since 2019, to step in, who was interim head coach, and now lead the Spurs. It's interesting to think that I thought that, would this have been Becky Hammon's job if she didn't go to the Aces? But that's not important. Mitch has done his time. He did a good job with this team. But now comes the interesting part. With Wembanyama, with Stephon Castle, with De'Aaron Fox we can expect from injury, with Keldon Johnson, with Devin Vassell, what do you do if you're San Antonio? This is another team. They're being linked to possibly Giannis. Do they stay patient or do they go for it now and make a run? Speaking of making a run, Will Hardy has been extended by Utah. And you're going to be like, wait, what? They extended this guy? Do you people know that I think they went from, and Matt may have to correct me, I think they went from 17 wins to 37 wins this year. He's done a great job with a young roster. He's a Danny Ainge guy. This guy was on the staff of the Boston Celtics. He was with Ime Udoka. Remember, he left before the whole Ime scandal broke and Joe Mazzulla came in. So this guy could have easily been the head coach of the Boston Celtics. This guy has a brilliant offensive mind. He's doing good things. Look how he develops guys like Keontae George and others. This will be interesting here because Utah is going to have one of the best. Could they hit the lottery? What happens if they get a guy like a Cooper Flagg? It'll be interesting times here coming up with the Utah Jazz. Coming up next after the commercial break, we'll get into our war tour. We'll look at series odds for the Cavs and the Pacers after game 1. We'll look a little bit at Knicks versus Celtics. That could be a series prop. Same thing with Denver versus OKC. And lastly, Minnesota versus the Golden State Warriors. We'll be back with our award tour after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 146, and it's time to get into our award tour where we break down the future markets. We're going to go through the 4 conference semifinal matchups, and I'm going to give you, depending on the series, possibly a series spread and or a prop that I'm looking for. Remember, this is Monday, so by the time you see this and hear this on Tuesday, you got to remember that 3 of the 4 games series would have started already. So just make sure you understand where my hat is at as I talk to you about these bets. First off, after taking a 1-0 series lead, the heavily favored Cleveland Cavaliers are down to a minus 225 favorite versus the Indiana Pacers at plus 188. Obviously, 1-0 series lead for the Pacers. Listen, a lot of this is going to be predicated on what happens to the injury front. The Darius Garland news sounds worse than expected. We don't know if he's coming back. If he's coming back, right? Then Kenny Atkinson said today, supposedly, that dislocated finger, I do believe, for DeAndre Hunter and an injury to Evan Mobley, and we don't know if they're going to be available. So that is a tricky thing to look at. So how does this affect you? Well, right now, if I were to do anything, it's minus 164. I would look at the plus 1.5 games for the Indiana Pacers. That means that all I need out of Indiana is win 2 more games, and I cash that ticket at minus 164. I think that number is going to move, obviously, if guys are out. So if you get up tomorrow morning, you like it, and think that this could go possibly 7 games, then I would take a look at that. Okay? The over-under of the series is at 6.5 games. That's major minus money for the under. It's over $2. It's tough to look at that because we just don't know. So let's go to something that we do know, and that's the 3-point market here. And I think I want people to understand this. The guy that I'm looking at right now to lead the series in total made threes is Aaron Naismith at plus 550. Okay? If you really look and take a look at it, after game 1, okay, the leader right now is Nemrod. I don't expect him to keep up this pace, right? You have Naismith with 4, Siakam with 2, Halliburton with 2, Mathurin with 3. I don't think he keeps it up. Mobley with 2. We don't even know if he's playing. Donovan Mitchell's intriguing one at 1, along with 2 for Strus and Merrill. The reason why I'm going with Nemrod is, 1, he's going to, that Naismith, I'm sorry, he's going to get his shots, right? And if you really look at what Aaron has done, for the season, he shot at 43% from the 3-point line. And then you look at the games that he's had so far in the playoffs, he has gone, ready? 1, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. He's been the best shooter for the Pacers. And he's the most consistent one. High shooting 3-point percentage. I think they take away from Spider. Spider can get hot. Obviously, that's why he's at plus 190. But a little bit of value here. Aaron Naismith plus 550 to lead the series in 3-pointers. Let's go to New York versus Boston. Folks, and obviously this could all move by tomorrow morning. Boston minus 850. Right now, I'm seeing 9-1, minus 900 versus plus 610 for New York. Series spread, the best odds you're looking at right now is probably a Boston minus 2.5 games. Folks, I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going Knicks plus 2.5 at plus 106. Boston's is going to give up 1 game because of the threes. Brunson's going to steal another game. So I would be okay with you going Knicks plus 2.5 games, or if you want to go the total number of games over 5.5 at plus 118 in case you get a Knick upset. No one's calling it, and I'm a Knick fan. I'm not calling it, but hey, if Cat plays like Cat, you never know Boston gets cold. Real quick prop I want you to look at in this series is in the rebound market is I want you to take a look at Josh Hart. It was at 7-1 this morning. It's down to 5-1 to lead the series in threes. Hear me out. Cat is a favorite at minus 280. He's got to go guard Porzingis. Tatum is at plus 360. He's going to probably guard OG or Bridges, someone that shoots the ball from 3. Josh Hart at 5-1 is going to fly, and he averaged 8.7 rebounds per game during the season versus Boston. Josh Hart to lead the series in rebounding right now at 5-1 and dropping fast. Let's head over to the matchup between the Denver Nuggets and Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, game one will be completed by then, so obviously the Lions are going to move with this. I like the Thunder, not the Thunder, I like the Nuggets plus 2.5 games. I'm going with the same adage. Number one, they have the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. He's going to steal you a game. Two, I just think Denver's got enough. If Porter Jr. And Aaron Gordon play the way they're capable of. So I do like Minnesota plus, Minnesota, I'm sorry, not the wrong series. The Nuggets plus 2.5 games. Sorry, let me make sure I say that correctly. And I'm looking at this right now on my iPad with a series spread of plus 104. So plus 104 for that matchup there. I think it goes over 5.5 games. I think it goes 6. Next series, Minnesota is the favorite. It's funny because you would ask me a week ago, I would have said when they were both at 3-1, I would have said it would have been the Warriors, but the Warriors lost 2 in a row. Steph struggled in Game 7 first half, and we saw what he did Game 4, and then obviously closed out in Game 5. So Minnesota's the minus 178 favorite. I'm going to say this right now, folks, and I'm going to be in the minority. I do not think this is going to be a very good series. I don't think this goes more than 5. So if you want to go a series over under total games, I am taking under 5.5 games at plus 152. I think that the Ant is on a mission. They are locked and loaded, and the same problems that presented itself to the Lakers will present itself for Golden State, and it could be worse. Minnesota closes them out in 5 games. Coming up after this break, we'll get into our scouting report as we'll break down game number 1 between Jimmy Butler and the Golden State Warriors versus Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then we'll start to look at game 2 between Indiana and Cleveland with all these injuries. We'll be back with our scouting report after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 146. And it's time that we get into our scouting report as we break down matchups in the NBA. As this is Monday night, right, and we do have game 1 on Monday night between, the Knicks and the Celtics and the Nuggets and the Thunder. We're going to kind of stay away from those 2 games because there could be a lot that could transpire over the course of Monday. So I want to kind of stick to the 2 game 2s that are going to take place tomorrow night, Tuesday night. And let's lead off with game number 2 with Indiana at Cleveland. It was at 9. It went up to 10. It went down to 9.5. And now it's minus 9 right now for the Cleveland Cavaliers, over under of about 229.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. And it really sets up an interesting dilemma because there's a lot of what ifs. We don't know the status of Darius Garland. We don't know with the injury to DeAndre Hunter if he's going to give it a go based on what Kenny Atkinson said. We don't know what we're going to get, out of Evan Mobley based off of what Kenny Atkinson said to the media today. So that kind of gets us into an interesting predicament is where do we go? Like how do we break down a game where you could literally have, possibly 3 of the top 6 players on the team not play? Very simply put, folks, Indiana gonna do what Indiana gonna do. So it's the over 229.5, a game that last game number 1, sailed over this number and hit a 233. Indiana's gonna play with pace. If you get Garland back, and let's say everybody plays, that helps Cleveland's offense, but it also hurts their defense a little bit. If you look at the head-to-head matchups that these teams had, okay, 239 game one. Then I have looks like a 244, a 226, a 244, right? And then you have the 109, 108.93, which is the outlier. And then you have a 246. So every game but one went over, and I'm throwing out the 108.93 game. Indiana's a team that's not going to change what they do, folks. They're going to do it, right? And they're going to do it time after time after time. It doesn't matter who's playing or not. So the play is going to be over 229.5, unless you get injury news coming out and you find out that guys are out. If you find out that all these guys are out, I don't think Indiana changes what they do. I would go the over 110.5. And if you get wind that you think it's happening, go get it early and just run to the window and take it. Indiana Pacers will be able to score over their 110.5. I'm looking more at that 229.5 between the two teams. Let's go to Golden State versus the Timberwolves. And the Timberwolves are coming in as a 7-point favorite. Right now, the over-under is way different in this matchup, 208.5. And people are going to sit there and say, oh, Golden State's been disrespected. You know, there's no way that they go ahead and Minnesota beats them like this. Well, let's consider the fact that the last 3 times Minnesota and Golden State played, Golden State won all 3 of them. 116, 115, 113, 103, 114, 106. So that's like, Golden State 103. They should cover the spread. They were 7-point dogs, 4.5-point dogs, and a slight 1-point favorite. Give me Minnesota minus 7 points. I was concerned about what I saw out of Golden State, post game 4 of that series versus Houston. An older team with not a lot of rest is going to turn around and play a team that's well rested and hungry. I know I sat there and said I get concerned with teams with long layoffs. Not Anthony Edwards. Something's got into this kid, and he's dialed in. Give me the Minnesota Timberwolves to start, which should be, I think, a bloodbath. They covered a 7-point spread in game number 1. This has been episode 146 of the Betting Above the Rim podcast for May 5th. For all things sports gambling, download the Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. For my producer, Matty George, Vinny does a great job with the graphics. Thanks for listening, folks. And always remember, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.